Welcome to another garden vlog. Another day, another one of these Kenaf or Kenoff hibiscus blooms are open. And we are getting ready to have some 30-ish degree nights next week. There are some news people or weather people over the last few days that have predicted that the wind chill over Monday and Tuesday night of next week will be like 100-year record lows. You know, possibly 28 degrees or so in this area, wind chill factor, possibly even real freezing temperatures. So over the next few days, we need to gather heaters. We need to see which plants need to be protected over the next week or so. Hopefully it's not just a constant pile of cold weather. You know, the last year or two, we constantly had to bring so many plants in, out. And it was not very fun to spend so much time doing that. The question I have now is whether or not we have much, if any, content for you guys between now and whenever this season ends. We've been talking for a month or two about, you know, making a shorter season, not focusing on weather and all that other stuff. And, you know, there are things maybe at the end of last season or in this season that I plan to have done that just aren't feasible to get done. But what are the things that are feasible that we can do to add new content this season? Are there any things left, you know? Probably one or two. We've planted pretty much almost everything that we could. I mean, we could plant more. I mean, that's, you know, it would almost be impossible for us not to just plant something for the purpose of putting something in the ground. But that's not really adding anything new, not going with any of our plans for wetland zone 1 or anything. We could maybe do some winter green planting, broccoli or other greens. We could possibly harvest the little bit of sunchokes that we grew, but based on past experiences, you know, I had a good couple 2-3 year run, and I harvested, I think, all of the tubers. This was way before the garden vlog, and we tried to salvage some of them. They don't last very long once you harvest them. You know, I kind of bury them back in sand or whatever in a bucket, and you got to kind of store them that way or they just rot. So I kind of would like to see what happens if I just leave it for the first year or two, see if they multiply, and then maybe spread the plants out again and see if I can get a larger success over one big area or multiple areas, so that we have backups, and to see if we can have long-term success more than 2 or 3 years. Next day, and I've been showing Jonathan all these trees we've recently planted, these little mulberries and all that good stuff. Mulberries, avocados. You enjoying looking at the garden?
Yes.
All right, you want to go get a grapefruit? They're probably not 100% ripe yet, but go get one. Well, it looks like these beauty berries are finally just drying up. Again, the birds didn't take them. Got a few Meyer lemons are starting to turn yellow, but not a whole lot of citrus at all this year except some marsh white grapefruit. I think this video is going to mark a soft close of the season. We've done soft openings where we kind of start out slow. Soft close is, in my opinion, a close of the season that will allow us to still update you guys. If anything exciting happens, we get any new plants to plant, get any new surprises that are good. But for the most part, we haven't been uploading a garden vlog every day. You guys know that. Anybody that's been keeping up with our channel for a while, we started slowing down quite a while ago. The day And it is still early in the morning. Has been super hectic already. Our lives have just been busy, busy, busy. There's a bird. It just flew over here. Can we see it? Oh, there he went. Super busy. And gardening. You know, if we didn't have anything else to do, I would still be having 10 or 20 projects going in the season. No problem. You know, I don't really like the cold weather anymore, but when we have, you know, cool mornings, cool days, and we can get out here, I would just gladly trade all the other hoopla for gardening. We are so behind on school, homeschool stuff, because, you know, we started a month and a half late, you know, because we were first-time scholarship people and working on that bathroom renovation, which isn't even half done probably yet. We've had to slow the bathroom renovation to try to pick up on school and doctor's appointments and Natalie's nail appointments and all that stuff just get in the way, because sometimes we have 3 days of appointments, and that means, 2 days of school, 3 days of school if we do a Saturday, and Natalie refuses to do school on Sunday. So I'm not even sure if this Abeka program's curriculum is even conducive to our schedule. We may end up changing this curriculum, you know, in December or something like that, or next year. People often review Abeka as harder than public school. More involved, more book work, more, you know, everything harder, difficult. So the good news is if you can get through it, you're probably going to be ahead of people in public school. The bad news is, you know, homeschooling, in a lot of cases, people choose to do it not just for religious purposes, but also because they want to set their own pace, and Abeka really doesn't allow that. You get like 170-ish school days in Abeka. That's, you know, with a scholarship, getting everything later than when public school starts, and you still have to test if we choose to test at a public school in that May or early June testing schedule. It's almost impossible to get all those days done in what time you have. I really would like to get rid of a lot of these tropical plants, you know, to the local garden club, but, you know, our time, I should say, on video, you know, where we're getting them ready and, you know, telling you guys what we're getting rid of and having them gone, and, you know, making people happy, even if you don't see that on video, people smiling and winning their prizes or getting their free plants. I really want to include at least part of that process on our garden vlog. And, you know, we have an appointment today, but I don't think there's any way I can schedule that in all of the stuff we have to do. Going to the bank, going to see Natalie's mom, getting her eye procedure done today, and, you know, whatever else we have to do. But as I said, you know, we really don't want to bring all these plants in. There's a little bit of a freeze or frost coming. I'm going to see what I can just keep outside, you know, wait till the last minute, make a decision. But obviously some of the house plants and stuff have to come in. Even if we're only shooting video every other day, every 3 days, it seems like that's even too much here for our schedule. So what's next? I guess, you know, I talked earlier yesterday in this video about possibly doing some greens or something. May not do it on the vlog. It might just be planted out without video. We'll see. And then we just wait and see what survives, and see if any of those peaches or plums or, you know, pluots or anything come up from those seeds. They haven't shown any sign of life yet, and that might be in the spring or summer, if at all. Another hibiscus bloom there. You also have to remember that this channel is about everybody, and a big part of all of our lives showcasing things and gardening is going to be a part of the kids' lives and their homeschool program too. So maybe we'll do those greens and stuff, as a part of homeschool. There is something almost bittersweet about ending our garden vlog seasons every year. You don't want to stop. You don't want to stop, but time, resources, energy is getting low. And you would think, well, it gives you a refresher, for a while, kind of like a vacation, and allows you to think about what's coming the next season, because you get cuttings, that winter, end of winter, early spring, for grafting, for rooting, just to propagate. And that's always exciting, because you have the potential to make new plants that you never had before. Or maybe if you didn't succeed before, maybe you'll succeed now, just like our mulberries, just like our first time persimmons that the grafts took. We went from grafting persimmons like crazy and grafting mulberries is like crazy to getting a pretty good graft take on the mulberries, and not a great graft take on persimmons, but we got 2 to take versus 0 in the previous year. So if we just think about this year alone, this is the first season we've been able to graft those persimmons and have them take. This is the first year we've had grafted loquats take, although again a small amount. I think we had 3. This is the first year we've had burrs on our 25-year-old chestnut tree after doing that post mycorrhizal bed, as an experiment to see if we can make it thrive in the swamp, and it seems to have worked. This is the first year we've had those Cadota figs produce, and we've been, even with how many we've planted over the years, a lot of them died, or a lot of them, just like that Cadota or whatever you call it, grew or didn't grow or stagnated. And then years and years later, we have figs. So first year we've had the tropical guavas. Whether or not they survive the winter in the ground, we will see. This year is the first year we've grafted chestnuts on random swamp oak trees here and had them take. Whether it's short-term success or long-term success, the grafts actually took, and they grew. This is our first year to have a successful air layer on a citrus tree. This is our first year successfully cold stratifying American persimmon seeds and sprouting them. It's not that we've tried before, but it's a first for us. Between last season and this season, we've propagated so many plants to give away to the garden community. Some of them failed. Some of them we did decide to keep because of failures, or if they were just doing bad. But we tried our best. We spent a whole lot of money on seeds, especially those Jabota seeds, and those seedlings just did not do good. But we're giving them away, the good ones that we have, and hopefully a lot of people are going to be happy, even though I know a lot of people are going to be disappointed that there isn't enough for everybody. So again, they'll probably be raffled off versus just put on a table where everybody fights over. And we have so many mulberry seedlings popping up everywhere. There's a potential to do major grafting over the next few years. Pot them up, graft them, get rid of them, give them to the garden community here. And I'm glad that I'm having successes with mulberries, even though not 100%, probably 65 to 70%, maybe long term, because some of them do take, they last 4 or 5 months or so, and then something just makes them wither and die. I don't know what causes that, but maybe a lot of them I'm doing in the ground where they have multiple branches, and the larger branches and growth is just taking over and not allowing the smaller grafts to really take hold. So I got to experiment more and see if that's the case. But when we do seedlings in a pot, small ones, we'll probably just cut most of the top off anyway. There won't be any of that original tree growing unless it's a small branch or something. Well, it's another morning here on this garden vlog, and our van yesterday when we was taking Natalie to the eye doctor, decided it wasn't going to shift gears. And we had already had a lot of problems, CV joints or something, maybe a combination of that and wheel bearings and who knows what, knowing that we would soon need a car repair. But that definitely expedited it when we had to call the tow company. And even though it's part of the transmission, he was able to manually shift it into drive and say, drive to your destination, don't turn your car off. And we saved a tow bill. So the shifter cable broke or something came loose. He said it could have been a bushing, could have been whatever, I don't know. He said he's going to repair it, won't need any extra parts. But between that and the CV joints, it's going to be close to $700. So very, very, very tight budget over the last few months, with groceries going up, with this fire assessment fee being added on to our tax bill. Christmas is hopefully going to be good, at least for the kids, but we definitely have some limits on things we can get and what we can spend for sure. And unfortunately, I have 2 items on layaway at a pawn shop for Natalie that may not even come until after Christmas now. So my potential last hoorah in the garden vlog this season was to try to get about tripped over a dog hole there, to try to get maybe a pound of cold stratified pawpaw seeds. And there were some things we're going to do with them, but I don't really see that as a last thing in the garden. I think for the most part, you guys have seen most everything, except for anything we try to incorporate into their homeschool program. I'm hesitant to even buy any major things to try to finish up that bathroom renovation we're doing. I think I'm okay to buy little things here and there, but siding or anything like that. Back to the weather in the garden vlog. So we talked earlier in this video, a day or two ago, about that wind chill factor supposedly hitting around 28 Fahrenheit, and the actual temperatures predicted a couple of days ago would be like 34 to 36 degrees Fahrenheit. But now they're saying 32 Monday night and 33 Fahrenheit on Tuesday night. And I think on Sunday it's supposed to be 85 degree high. So Sunday 85 high, Monday 33 low. That's a lot of difference between those 2 days and 2 temperatures.
What we found. Stella, get away from that. Don't eat that. Nasty. That's a stink pot mushroom.
Who says you can't have fall colors in Florida? Enjoying these butterflies and these annual Tithonias here with their orange flowers.
Oh, there's a monarch. Hi, monarch.
You know what, guys? I think we could plant a few American persimmon seedlings in maybe areas that aren't ideal, just for fun, just to see, some boggy, swampy areas, or wherever we can find. I haven't, my primary areas are pretty much gone, I think. unless something fails and dies and we have that space for something else. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find my pot with multiple persimmons in it. This is a problem when you have so many plants and you're moving them around and all that stuff. Is it in this little sunny location somewhere? Oh, yep, there it is, right here. So I can pluck them out of there and just put them. All right, let's see if we can finesse one out. Look at there. That's holding on to quite a bit of dirt. Got a little helper today to plant this guy, right? All right, we put it right here. Not our wetlands, but definitely a low spot in the backyard where the swamp comes in here. As you can see, there's not a lot of growth until you get grass there. All these brown areas get, flooded multiple times a year. A lot of roots here too. All right, here you go. Pour it nice and slow all the way around that root zone. Okay. Here, this one right here. Just go low so you're not knocking it down. And then we gotta hope a dog or something doesn't. You're not touching the roots. We might have to go get more water. Tip number 2, don't pour it all at once. Get low to the ground here. And get it all, let it touch the trunk and everything. There we go. All right, let it dump there. All right, good job here for big old glob of roots. All right, JJ's gonna help us today, or now I should say, right here. All right. You need more water than that. Bring more water. Round 2 with the rainwater. All right, that should be enough. Thank you. Big helper. Hey, look at that big old root cluster there in that one. All right, let's go over here by that big oak tree. Here he comes through the briars and the weeds. All right, you want to hold it there for us? All right there. He got a big old bucket. How's he going to control? All right, go all around it. All right, you got to get it better than that. All right, maybe. All right. You want to pack it in with your fingers? A little bit. All right. Now,
get a little bit more water.
Go get more water. Considering that American persimmons are usually native to wet areas, I'm surprised that we have none in our little swamp area here. I only know about maybe 2 American persimmon trees that may have been intentionally planted in our town, and there's 3 or so large American persimmon trees right outside of our town. And in those areas, I think they're not quite swampland, and a lot of ranch and farm areas, high areas full of sand, super well draining, seem to have the most American persimmon trees that squirrels, birds, and stuff that have likely planted over the years. When I got those seeds to cold stratify, which is probably the northern type of American persimmons, there's 2 types. And I'll just say that some people that have the southern type, whatever chromosome, say they don't even need to cold stratify them to produce. So anywhere where American persimmons seem to come up natively, there seems to be an overabundance spread out everywhere. So really, for the most part, they're not even that valuable as a seed or seedling, and unless you are using them to graft Asian persimmons or other American improved cultivars to them. So when I got these seeds, and I said, well, a lot of them are going to be for grafting projects, and maybe some will be to donate to a local garden community. And we definitely individually potted a few for ourselves, hoping that in 2 years they would be big enough to graft instead of paying $5 or $7 a piece for seedlings at an online nursery. And we just allowed some like these here to just grow in a big bucket so that we can just pluck them and put them in random places. And we planted seeds in the ground, and I think I've only noticed 2 of them out of all the ones we planted in the ground come up. I could be wrong. They could be in a bunch of weeds somewhere and we just not noticed them. But here, you know, let's just talk about seeds and seedlings, putting random things in the ground. My experience, especially with seeds, is that the majority seem to not come up at all. I don't know what the actual percent of seeds that actually sprout, you know, are on our property. Probably pretty low. You know, we wasted a lot of money on those jaboticabas. Even the ones in pots seem to not have done well. But I have not noticed even one come up from a seed that I planted in the ground. But, you know, whether it be 5%, 30% of everything we plant, I am not sure. I only know that our land is unforgiving. With that said, you know, we do get surprised occasionally, and I would love for 3 or 4 or 5 years from now to come back in here and say, what? I thought all of those did not make it. I thought none of them existed from the seeds I planted. What is that? Oh, that is this thing that I planted and forgot about years ago, and now it's alive. Most of my jackfruits look pretty crappy too. I think I might keep this biggest one in a bucket and pluck some of these other ones out and just plant them and see if we can find a microclimate where they will survive. And these guys were supposed to be given away, but they've had so much dieback, and you know, even when I transplanted a few in pots, they just looked horrible. So I don't want to give away any plants that are just in terrible shape. We'll stick them in the ground, see if they recover. Probably won't survive the winter, but if they do, maybe we found a microclimate that, well, they can tolerate. I don't know. Remember, we had that one in the bucket in the shade for like 3 or 4 or 5 years. It died back majorly every year, but it came back every year until we planted it against that structure, and I don't think it ever recovered. But who knows? A bucket of rainwater, and we planted all those jackfruit seedlings out. Get them a little bit of water, and just hope for the best.
Yeah, I just barely have some green buds, but they're still alive. Here's a little leaf coming out.
Again, these guys are going to be hidden, so if they survive, we'll know it in a year or so.
One in like a rotten tree trunk there. Right here in this little triangle where we tried to plant those squash
Earlier this year, they just kept
filled in. One right by our mayhaw trees here, way in the back.
So this is the biggest and the best looking one left, and we're keeping it in the pot. Maybe get rid of that, donate it to the local garden club, see what they want to do. Now we got some more persimmons. What do we do with such young seedling trees? They have a very nice root system. We're going to like the farthest most back area in the corner over there. Not touching the fence, maybe a couple foot away from it. Super wet area when it's flooded. So again, it is very strange to have to kind of replenish or plant out what should be native to this land, these areas, where, you know, they come up in places where they don't really thrive. I've seen some like 15 to maybe 25-year-old American persimmon trees in that sandy soil where it's hard to get water, or water is not retained and the pH is different. It's not acidic soil. They only get like 15 feet, and they don't seem to flower that much, if any. So wildlife is taking potentially from areas that are more capable of flowering and producing an abundance of fruit, and dropping those seeds off in areas that aren't. And I really don't have big expectations of planting ones in heavy shade and root dense areas to grow big here either. Hopefully a few of my trees will be in more prime locations, but at minimum I'm kind of just putting some of these trees back to where they belong, where they're supposed to be, even if that means not having them in a highly productive place. It looks like only one of my hawthorns that I grafted this season have made it through. You know, we had short-term successes with the red azurol hawthorns. Had, I think, 2 taken. And the red sun Chinese hawthorn is the only one that still seems to be alive. Got green leaves on it. So cross fingers and hope that this guy will be alive and thriving over the next few years and maybe productive. It has been a couple days since we shot any on this video here, and the weather prediction went even lower. So Monday night went to 29, Tuesday night like 32, and now they're saying Monday night 30, and Tuesday night is like 33 or 34. But Wednesday, I think, is going to be 38. So 3 nights in the 30s. We don't know how cold it's actually going to get Monday, because they went up, you know, what was it originally going to be? 36 with a wind chill of potentially 27 to 29 to 30. And I'm not sure what the wind chill is supposed to be now. I really don't want to bring a bunch of plants in, but, you know, these, you know, jaboticabas, white sapotes, they're still pretty young. And most of these I'm donating anyway. So, especially the jaboticabas, all of them I'm going to be donating. So I would really hate to have to make a bad judgment and have none or much fewer or poorer looking ones that are, you know, 90% of their green growth dies to a little stem and one little green leaf or something, and give that to somebody. Definitely have to pull in what orchids we have left still alive. And I deep watered our Barbados cherry. A few things I'm going to have to just research again, because I forgot the actual cold tolerance of everything. But possibly the Barbados cherry will come in. You will probably go ahead and protect the chaya here, because none of the ones I planted in the ground have lived past the winter. And I think I got rid of several of the ones in pots. So this might be our one single plant that is left. Until we find that great microclimate or get one established that lasts a couple years and builds maybe up some cold tolerance. And we, you know, I know there are people within about 12, 15 miles from me that have this come back every year.
Put up my thing.
So it's been another day or so.
Look where I put up my thing, Daddy.
Okay, is that something you drew?
It's Shadow the Hedgehog.
Anyway, yeah, it's been another day or so, and the weather kind of flipped. I think Tuesday was originally going to be the coldest day, and now it's Monday night instead of Tuesday night. Hard freeze warning. 29 is what they're predicting. Hard to tell, because we woke up, it was supposed to be 50 after saying it was going to be 49, and we woke up and it was actually like 46 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, and it's been windy all day, and it hasn't really been warm. I'm in shorts and I need to go to town, and I hate to go put pajamas or long sleeves on and change. I love my shorts. So hopefully we can get to town and minimally freeze and get everything done. We're looking up cold tolerances of the jaboticabas, of the white sapote and Barbados cherry. I'm just not willing to risk it, so I'm going to go ahead and bring those guys inside. I don't want to disappoint a lot of people, you know, that may be wanting some of these jaboticabas or, you know, white sapotes. And you know, it's what's bad is that, you know, I do want white sapotes to survive in the ground, to give me that, you know, to think I could potentially graft some that stayed alive if they didn't die back to their roots or something. You know, they grow pretty fast, I think. So by the end of next year, they'll probably be graft ready, if not mid, you know, summer. But I do have some of every one of these things in the ground. Again, red hybrid jaboticabas only have one big one, you know, probably a little bit smaller than this guy here. And I have You know, like the Sabaras, just little tiny ones, so they may not survive. Who really knows?
Well, I don't know if you can see them, but right there is a head of ripe elderberries, and there's some somewhere over here too, another head with black ripe elderberries. The day before we're gonna get this freeze. Yeah, that wind is moving that cold front in. Major wind here. Putting our Okinawa spinach plant here, and man, look at that. That's a couple extra, 2, 3, 4, 5 extra plants. If we had warm weather, we could just root them in another pot. Then there's a couple Hass avocados. I think we're keeping all of the Mexican cold hardy avocado seedlings outside, unless we hit like 24, 25 degrees. You know, because they really need to harden off. They need to be cold tolerant or hardy enough. And, you know, if this knocks them out, then they probably wouldn't do good in anybody else's landscape, you know, without protecting them for years and years and years till they harden off, till they get 6, 8 foot or whatever. So we will see. All right, here's our first wagon load chaya, white sapote, those Okinawa spinach, dragon fruit. I do not know the cold tolerance of this marshmallow, so I'm going to take it inside just in case I don't have time to look it up. And if I do have time and see it's good, then I'll probably bring it back outside later. Wagon load number 2. Guessing this freeze is probably going to kill any potential blooms and fruit off of this loquat, this Christmas loquat, which sucks. But I think, if I read correctly, that these guys have the ability to bloom again after they get frozen off. But we will see. And if it doesn't produce, that's fine. I really think these guys stress out inside, indoors. So I'm not going to take it in. And the last wagon full here. Although we might get a couple other things here. Well, I almost forgot Natalie's hanging plant there. And I let it freeze one year. And she got so mad thinking it was going to die. And I said, I think it'll be just fine. It'll come back from the roots. And it did. But you can see it's already discolored a little bit from the cold it's already been exposed to. So I don't want to, stress it anymore. So we brought it in for these 2 little freezes or whatever we're getting. Hopefully we'll take it back out in like 2 or 3 days. Well, it's been another day or 2 since we worked on this video, and I brought out these plants back outside because everything was supposed to be above like the 30s. So hopefully everything here will survive. This little jackfruit seedling, just a couple days in the house, it just all crusted up, and we watered everything before we took them in. That's the bad thing about putting some of these plants inside. They really don't like it. This Okinawa spinach also doesn't like being inside. Last year I put some inside and a lot of them died. Some of this blue sage here really got hit pretty good. Some of it didn't get hit at all, I don't seem, and some of it's kind of in between. But these guys seem like they come back every year, no problem. There's bananas back there. Of course they'd get hit pretty good at 27 degrees. I think we had like a 30 or 31 degree Monday night, and then 27 on Tuesday night. Probably too early to tell what these new avocado and white sapote are going to do here. Definitely zap that fig, but the fig, shouldn't be long-term affected by cold. The tree there's our large cassava. Of course, it looks like it's melting almost, so we'll see if it got, the trunk and everything, or just the leaves. A little bit of leaf damage here on this red hybrid jaboticaba. And it looks like our last husk has fallen from that chestnut. Probably another unpollinated one, because they should have been popping out of those burrs, before they even dropped. This recently planted GHB, Mexican cold hardy avocado, doesn't even look like it has any kind of tip damage or anything. It looks perfect. This white sapote, unless something changes, it looks like it didn't get any damage either, but we know sometimes cold damage can show signs a week or 2 later. There's another recently planted one. Now there are some darker leaves at the bottom and maybe some darkening at the top. I can't tell. Again, it may take a while to show damage on these guys. That little tiny avocado we just put in the ground like a week ago.
It looks good, even though it's like growing sideways. Pink tropical guava is definitely not looking happy. Drooping a lot. Will 27 degrees do it in, or when we get some rain or something, is it going to perk up again? I guess we'll see. Something dug up my hand-wool grafted mulberry. Let's see if we can bury it back and see what happens. Gonna be probably hard to tell long term about these jaboticabas, these little tiny ones, because they're so low to the ground. Sometimes being low to the ground can give them protection, though. I've noticed there's one there. Yeah, plants, weeds, structures, trees, everything can, especially low plants can give these guys some level of protection from the wind, and then they get over that level and then they get hit pretty hard. Here's another avocado. This is the third one we put here, so we had the two that died here, and it's looking pretty good right there, looking kind of poor. White sapote there looking pretty good. Little jaboticaba there looking okay. Little jackfruit there is not looking good at all, but it wasn't looking good to begin with. Another one of those jackfruits that we planted. Looks better than the other one, but still not great. This little jaboticaba looks like it might have got zapped pretty good. I think there's two. There's one there and one here. The lowest one, as you see, looks good. This higher one looks bad. The jaboticaba there looks pretty good, but it's got a lot of pine needles that kind of sort of cover it, and probably always has some mulch breaking down from the pine and everything here, warming up the soil maybe just a little bit more than other places. So our van broke down. We got it fixed. It needed a shifting cable broke when we were in town. Had to get it repaired. Two CV axles were bad. Got it repaired. Hopefully it's going to be pretty good for a while now. Then I got a gout flare up. Still suffering on my left foot. Then our house was hit with a stomach bug, and we're, some of us are still suffering from that. At least 3 of the 5 of us have had that stomach bug. So who knows if all of us will have it. I had it, so I'm walking around with a little bit of limp and a little bit of pain in my left leg, foot area, and a little bit weak from the stomach bug. So I guess what better way to end a video than have all of these things go down, between the fan breaking down and being down with gout and the stomach bug. I haven't checked all of the tropical and subtropical plants that we planted, but pretty much guaranteed that we're going to get harder and longer freezes, than 27 degrees before the winter's in. So I guess that's what the next season will be for, to see what's new, to see what made it, see what didn't. Anyway, I can't think of anything else we need to talk about or show you guys right now, so I guess we are doing this off close here, as I said earlier in the video. But expect maybe a few more videos. Just don't expect them very frequently, unless something drastic changes, and I don't see that happening, at least, before the New Year's or so, when new cuttings and new scion wood and stuff become available.